minutes.
Okay, here we're live now. Set everything up.
Yeah, it's up on Facebook.
Roll Tide from Alabama. Now, is that those guys as they come into the mix?
That's a YouTube connection.
It should be. We should see them all.
It's on YouTube.
All right.
Yeah, somebody's mic is too close. They're just popping.
So check
Fine.
1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 5
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, your levels are looking
1 2 3 4 5 5 4 3 2 1.
Sound,
Hello.
yeah, I can hear it. Sounds alright.
Okay. Hey, did you guys? We're gonna get settled and get kicked off here at about 12:30. We got about 3 or 4 more minutes. So yeah, we can see you guys hopping in. It's great. Great to see you. Still a little popping. Somebody says.
Yeah. Maybe try to take your mic off.
All right, is that helping?
Check 1 2 1 2 3 4 5.
I understand you hear us.
Yep.
Do you hear the popping?
It's still on there. Yeah, they're still heavy popping.
All right, let's find out which mic it is. All right, I turned my mic off. You guys still hear the pop?
No, it's Dad's.
Okay. I'll turn.
Okay, are you hearing it now with Ron's mic off?
Yeah, it's Dad's mic. No, it's good.
Okay.
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 Can you hear both of us okay now? How's the audio levels?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I can hear it
Okay.
perfectly fine.
Good now. We've got good feedback. No popping now.
All right, thanks, guys.
Looks like it was this thing for some reason.
The sunspots were delayed, so. Hi, Dwayne.
Hey, Dwayne's here. Yeah, as we get started and get going, let us know where you guys are from. I'll do some shout outs for you guys. You're calling from, coming in, your call sign. I'll make you guys known. So, what's going on? Behind us so we can see you guys coming in. So,
We are filtering it, so don't try to catch us off guard.
so. Yeah.
Okay, wanted to cover a few things. We're generally pointing this Facebook Live to the AnyTone, and we've had some general questions come out. The mobile, and Dwayne, you and I talked about this. For those of you who don't know, Dwayne Reese, N6 DMR, is on here. Dwayne is the National AnyTone U.S. rep, technical rep. And Dwayne and I talked quite a bit, and we talked this weekend, or last weekend when I started vacation, and about the mobile, and now we've heard that it's going to be later on this year. Is that correct, Wayne? Throw that out there. And they keep pushing it out. They have to redesign it. They need to meet the FCC certification before they do anything with it, guys. So everything you've seen on the internet so far is all up in the air. We had a question. Are we on Facebook also? Yes, we're on Facebook. I see the Facebook coming in. We had a question about multiple modes on the AnyTone besides DMR. And Dwayne just echoed yes, probably August. Thank you, Dwayne. Multiple modes on the DMR, on the AnyTone. I'm not anticipating it. Could the hardware do it? Possibly. Are they going to do it? I wouldn't hold my breath on it. I wouldn't expect to see P25 or NXDN. I sure wouldn't expect to see D-Star, but we've been surprised before. So, and with that, those are a couple quick questions. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah. Well, hey, first of all, I just want to thank you guys for showing up to this live stream that we're doing. This is hopefully the first of many. We plan on doing this once a week with you guys. So we're real excited that you decided to join us and spend what we plan on to be about an hour of answering some questions that are coming in through our feed. We've also got some questions that have come in. But just as an introduction, my name is Ron Kohanowitz. My amateur radio call sign is KC0QVT, and I've been licensed since 2003. I'm also the owner and the chief operating officer of BridgeCom Systems. Yeah, like I said, our plan is to spend about an hour with you guys talking about the AnyTone and DMR in general, and helping you guys with questions that you might be having with respect to this radio as well as. And as a point of clarity, we're just a dealer of this radio. We've been behind this radio for well over a year now, and Chuck and I and the team here have put a lot of resources together to help you guys be successful. And we want to, we're just giving back. And these live streams are an effort to help you get successful with your radios. We offer the 868, the 878, and now the new 878 Plus with the Bluetooth right there. So, but as this thing gets going, I want to let you guys know we're doing a giveaway for all the attendees of this live stream. There's a link in the description of the live stream where you guys can go in and enter. And I recommend you go in and enter. We're going to be giving away an 868. We'll do the drawing when we wrap things up today, and we'll let you know who wins that. So I invite you to enter this giveaway. The links are in the description of the live stream that you got. So anyway, we're going to get things kicked off. Got Chuck K0XM here with me to my left. Chuck is tech support manager here at BridgeCom Systems. You guys probably have met him. You've seen him on the videos. You've probably talked to him maybe on the telephone. But we're going to open up the floor with some questions. And
well, let me give a little background on me. I've been licensed since 1979. I'm the co-founder with W0NQX. It used to be N0UH. We co-founded a backyard repeater group in Kansas City back in the mid-'80s. And we've been putting repeaters on all modes, including D-Star, since the mid-'80s. Homebrews, the whole 9 yards. First one I built was I split a brownface 509 on 220 and made it into a repeater. So there's a lot of background here in the shop on this, and we've feed with a lot of the comments, which had about some questions popped in there. So we'll see. There it is. Good morning. Also into about the mobile and the Bluetooth. Somebody was asking about the Bluetooth and what it'll connect to. Number one, we cannot verify that it will connect to cell phone earpieces or anything like that. That was thrown out to us. Okay. We don't have, this is it. We don't have the facilities to do all that testing, and we don't know if AnyTone has. So, now I have tested before it was released. We did get some samples in here, and it will connect to my hands-free setup in my car. And driving down the road with the cell phone hands-free and this little Bluetooth push-to-talk that you have to sync to the radio, I can throw it in the cup holder and not even touch the radio and have a QSO. So the new Bluetooth radio is worth the extra coins if you're going, especially if you're in New Jersey or California and areas where they're really cranking down on whether you've got a cell phone or a radio next to your ear while you're driving down the road. This radio will allow you to operate it from your cup holder, so through your car interface. The link for the drawing is in the description of this feed on Facebook. They're not seeing it on YouTube. We'll get that taken care of. There was another question that scrolled through about repeaters. Anyway, what should we start taking some questions off the feed?
Yeah. First of all, again, thanks for joining us. A lot of you guys are here. It's awesome. We did get a list of your questions. We can start off with some of them that came in prior to the live stream, and then what we're going to do is handle them as they come in. But we're going to kick off with some questions that a lot of you are having.
Okay. I guess I start going through our list that we preloaded.
And let me remind you, these are questions related to the AnyTone, particularly, and DMR.
And hotspots.
And hotspots as well. So DMR related, it doesn't have to be, sort of about the technology. DMR is, it's exploding in the amateur radio community. And I will say, let me remind you, if you're not into DMR yet, you need to go to radioid.net and get you a DMR ID. It takes a few moments. You got to provide your amateur radio call sign and an email address, and that will
a copy of your license.
And you now have to provide a copy of your license. So if you're just getting started into DMR, go to radioid.net, and they'll walk you through the process or the registration process, and that's the first step that you have to take. And then, of course, the second step is to get you a good quality radio. We would like you to, consider the AnyTone. That's why we're here. And then, thirdly, you need to find local repeaters in your area, or a hotspot, which is hooked up to the Brandmeister network or any of your other favorite networks that you might. And then also get involved in a club. So, with that said, let's get things started. We've got some questions.
See, first of all, let me handle Mike's question up here that came in through YouTube. Mike, we don't do the package you see with the DV Mega is the only thing that we will address or we will support. Any OLED digital displays or anything put on there, we cannot touch them. So if there is one available, we're not supporting it or installing it or selling it. So I can't answer that. You'll have to do some research on the net on your own on that. In regards to the AnyTone being compatible with the BTEC 6X2, the BTEC is an AnyTone radio. The code plug is partially compatible, but the key is you have to use N0GSG software to do it. Tom's software breaks down the code plugs and it will merge them to where they'll play with either radio, AnyTone to BTEC or BTEC to AnyTone. But right out of the box, you're not going to be able to load the BTEC with AnyTone code plug. There's enough differences in the firmware that's going to cause you a problem on that. Kind of holding questions. I want to get to that here in a minute on it. Mag mount. Is there an advantage of DMR as opposed to regular radio? DMR is, number one, is cleaner. The coverage area has been proven to be better. The battery life on a handheld is substantially better because it's not, when you squeeze the pickle or hit the push to talk, as a lot of people say, it's not a continuous carrier. It's 30 millisecond bursts. So it's going to use less battery because it's like a packet station. It's transmitting bursts of data. And then can a DMR radio function on down digital repeaters? Yes, the DMR radios are, except for the Motorola SL7550, all DMR radios are dual mode, analog and DMR. The Motorola, the little cell phone looking Motorola, is only digital. You will not be able to get analog on that. But then we don't carry that. So the only reason I know that is because I owned one. Will AnyTone consider adding other digital modes? At this time, we have not heard anything. 25 and NXDN. I don't think they're going to put it in there. I haven't heard anything. Have you heard anything out of them?
No.
Okay. You can connect direct to another DMR user via a hotspot. You just use to connect to their user ID number, their DMR ID number. That's from Sean, and I believe Sean's out in Kansas. Okay, can you connect an 868 to a regular dual band mag mount antenna in a car? Any antenna will work with a DMR radio. It does not have to be a DMR certified radio. How hard is it to set up a hotspot? It's not really hard once you figure out how to do it. There's enough information out there. Playing with Pi-Star by Toshin, KE0FHS, you guys can Google that, is probably the best resource on setting up the Pi-Star and the hotspots. Once you get into that, it's a piece of cake. What were you going to say?
No, we can put a lot of the links to some of these resources. In fact, our website has many of these resources that Chuck's outlining, a lot of documentation. We mentioned Dwayne Reese, N6 DMR is on the feed, and he has done a lot to help you guys, and he's got some documentation available and some videos as well, and we've provided a lot of videos on our website as well. We also offer BridgeComUniversity.com with a course that we put together of all of our videos, and some of you have enjoyed that. Vince Rooney states, can you talk about hotspot compatibility if we were to build one from a Raspberry portable?
Raspberry Pi and a portable.
Yep.
Vince, there's a couple of versions out there. There's the Hotspot, which unfortunately we can't carry because he's got a deal with HRO. We carry the Mega, which is out of the Netherlands, and they're both fantastic units. We're really happy with the DV Mega because it comes in dual band, which will allow us to play on 2 meters if you've got local UHF activity. Compatibility, the Zoom Spot's got a couple more modes than DMR, but other than that, they're pretty much right across equivalent to each other.
Yeah, the main point of a hotspot is to effectively provide you a mechanism to get on a worldwide network so that you can have conversations with people all over the world, really. Brandmeister is a network that we help you guys get on when you get the DV Mega bundle. We put the DV Mega on a Brandmeister on one of their servers, and then of course program up your radio for 11 of the most popular talk groups. This definitely helps hasten the learning curve, to your point. So when you ask how hard is it to set up a hotspot, well, you know, we've heard people get on the road quickly. Sometimes people still, you know, take 2 or 3 weeks. We estimate, you know, the learning curve is about 10 to 15 hours if you're just getting started. We wanted to shorten that curve considerably. So it really varies as far as your technical expertise and, you know, just your experience with DMR in general, and particularly these radios. A lot of guys are doing it themselves. Some of them want to get hit the road quickly, and we can help that out as well. So audio is popping again. Okay.
Yeah, I saw that. How is it sending APRS message on the AnyTone? The only thing the AnyTone is capable of doing on APRS, analog or digital, is sending out your location. There's nothing else that can be done on APRS. APRS in the AnyTone is not developed. It's not going to play like your Kenwood D72 or anything else. It's just at the infancy of APRS on the AnyTone. Can you hook your computer up and do data on DMR and the AnyTone? Not at this time. Not at this time. Now, I caution you, being a repeater sysop, if you're on a repeater, contact your local sysop before you start cranking GPS data out. Because if we get enough GPS users out there that are cranking out on the same time slot, we can lose the time slot, guys, because it'll be nothing but GPS data. Us repeater owners don't want that. We want the dual time slot capability where people can actually use it for functionality. GPS on DMR in the commercial world is set up to be used on one time slot and voice on the other time slot. So it's really not based around usage on amateur yet. So how it's going to play in, our group is still up in the air on whether we're going to allow it or not. DMR mark repeaters do not allow it. So you need to check with your local repeater before you start cranking it out. How hard is it to use when traveling, such as switching from one repeater to another? Well, number one, you have to have it programmed in. That's the easiest way to do it. The way to do it manually is not that easy. It takes quite a bit of steps. Number one, you have to have a talk group list programmed up. And what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to, before we actually move it to the screen, one of my code plugs. Don't put my computer on just yet, Cody. I'm going to load up one of my code plugs and show you what is some of the stuff that needs to be in the code plug before you can actually load it up. This is the bare minimum, folks, that you're going to need even if you're on the road. If you preload these talk groups in there, then doing a manual input is fine. Cody, let's go ahead and hop over to my computer. You guys should be seeing, let me know when you're ready. Okay, as you can tell on my computer, I've got a lot of talk groups that are preloaded into code plug. And they have DMR IDs here on the left. That's what the networks are looking for. And then whatever you want to call it. And 99% of them are group calls. That's an error right there. That should be a group call as opposed to a private call. So, and here's an edit window in AnyTone. You put in your name, whatever you want to call it. Group call for general calls. Your talk group ID. Don't worry about call alerts. Nobody's going to be using them. Some people put them on there. All it does is make your radio go beep when you don't want it to. The parrot on Brandmeister is a private call. Let me see if I can find it here real quick. 9990. That should be basically the only private call you're going to have in it. See, like right here on the Brandmeister parrot is a private call at 9990. That is needed on the Brandmeister network. They do have group calls for the parrot, but private call is the most common one. Now, that is the basic starting point of programming your DMR radio. The second basic starting point, and this is another necessary need, is you need your radio ID in there. You could put 250 of them in the AnyTone. Why? If you got 250 radio IDs, don't let anybody know because they're going to start taking some back from you. But if you use it commercially, then you can put your commercial one in there and program it into your channels. So you can go with that, but you put it in there and then you put whatever ID name you want on it that you know about. That is going to be the minimum if you're traveling. If you've got a preloaded talk group list, then you can go into VFO mode and then VFO or manually enter one in. It does take quite a bit, but it can be done. Okay, let's see what here. Okay, Dwayne, that should have answered your question. Dave Wickard, is DMR supposed someone's already talking and the key link is dynamic talk group? No. If your radio is set up, this is the thing we need to make sure we're doing, folks. If you're on a repeater in an AnyTone, the basic contention for transmit allow criteria on the radios, Motorola, Titera, and all those, was channel free, which means there cannot be any noise that your receiver is hearing. If it's not hearing anything, then it'll say, yeah, I can transmit. Color code free, which is the proper contention for DMR, which means that the input to the repeater is the other user is stopped. Or always. Always is like analog. Every time you squeeze a pickle, it's going to key up. You don't want that on a repeater. So you need to make sure you're on color code free on Motorola's, Titeras, and stuff like that. AnyTone come along and said, we're going to throw a little mess in the mix. We've got always, which is the same. We've got channel free, which is the same. Then they're color code free. They have same color code or different color code. Now, for those of you who know the N0 GSG, Tom lives here in Kansas City, and he and I are friends. We did testing when the AnyTones first came out. And we talked to the factory because Tom was working with them on development of the software. We kind of find out that different color code is the proper contention you need on your transmit criteria on the AnyTone. So if you have it set up for different color code and somebody is talking, you cannot key up on top of them, which is the proper way to do it. That makes us repeater owners happy. That makes the users happy. Okay. Will the 878 Plus connect to wireless speaker or Bluetooth hearing aids? Yes, you can do that. Can my 878 be upgraded to Bluetooth? No, you need to have the hardware in it. We do not offer the hardware upgrades. We will be carrying an external module that plugs into the speaker mic jack. We will not be opening up the radios and putting the modifications in. And my battery is running low on my computer, so go ahead and kill that.
Here, I got it.
Can you make a private call by dialing a DMR ID? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. That is how you make private calls on DMR. And that's pretty much it for the questions that we are seeing here off of the feed. So if you guys want to throw any more out for Ron or I to ask about BridgeCom repeaters or anything, Ron is the developer and the designer of the BridgeCom repeaters and the mobiles. So 4000 hang-up. Okay, 4000 hang-up is basically used on hotspots. It's not going to do anything on a repeater. It will on the dynamic talk groups. But then, of course, there's also a 10-minute timer on them, on Brandmeister. So if there's no local activity, which means, okay, let's say I bring up 310, just to listen, which, number one, is bad verboten. Will get you a lot of nasty grams. that takes away time slot from people who actually want to use it. So please, folks, don't buy a DMR radio just to listen. Buy a DMR radio to talk, and not only on the Parrot. When we first put up our repeaters, Ron's laughing. I've told this story 1,000 times. We've got the dashboard, and I was making the code plugs for Kansas City area, and there were people that did nothing but talk to the Parrot. They would not talk in any talk group. They just wanted to talk to themselves. Ain't figured out why. But anyway, 4,000 hang up on a hotspot is if you can get it in there, that allows you to disconnect, tells the network to disconnect that dynamic or user-activated talk group to your hotspot. Now, the caution is 3100, 310, and actually worldwide, which is 91 now, are getting so popular, you can't get in to turn them off. You have to let them time out. By letting them time out, I'm saying let it sit and play for 10 minutes. Do not key up your radio even when it's dead. That's going to reset the 10-minute timer. If you want to move on to another hotspot, give at least 10 minutes if you can't get in and to hit 4,000 to turn it off manually. Let it time out, and then you should be able to go ahead and key up on another hotspot or another talk group and activate it on your hotspot.
Okay, Gary Clark asked, is the DMR hotspot for a single user or can multiple users at the same time, like on Wi-Fi?
You can use, if your DMR hotspot is set up as public, you can make it to where you're the only one that uses it. But yes, you can have multiple users on a hotspot. They do down in Wichita, Kansas at the Radio Shack. Yes, there is a Radio Shack still in Wichita, Kansas.
Okay, I'm going to take a question off the sheet here. Bill Carter asked, I want to know what the difference is between the 868 and 878 and what benefit would it be to get the 878. I would also like to add, since this question came in, we have the 878 Plus. So with that said, I mean, you've probably said this 1,000 times.
The 868, the cup on its memory is pretty much full. The hardware's not there. Now, a lot of people are saying it's the exact same hardware on the board. Some of the early issues were exact same hardware on the 878, and then they changed it. The 878's primed for future development, which is where the AnyTone is going with the DMR radios. The 868's pretty much full. Now, is the 868 old and outdated and not going to be supported? No, not by any means. We're still going to support it. We're still going to be carrying it. It's a great radio. Okay, it's a good, cheap way and a solid way to get into DMR for both users, ham users, and public service. And it's a great public service radio. We've sold quite a few of them to fire departments and stuff like that.
And one thing about the 868, and a lot of this has been spilled over into the 878 and the new 878 Plus, is it's getting very mature in the market. A lot of the bugs have been worked out. The one thing I will say, the factory has been extremely responsive to, all y'all's feedback, as well as what you're asking for. We're doing our best to make sure that they're made aware of issues that come up, but it is maturing and it's pretty much locked down to this point on the 868. So it is a very mature radio and it is working quite well.
Okay. Do you want to take that one from Anthony V too?
Well, this is a little detour. Anthony, Victor Echo 2 Hotel Echo Whiskey is the BCH 220 discontinued? Unfortunately, it has been by us. I mean, it took us about 3.5 years to sell 1,000 of those radios. We worked really hard. It's a rock solid little radio, and it just got to the point where, from an economics perspective, we just decided to pursue some other things. So they are still maybe available at DX Engineering, but we still support it on as far as getting accessories and things like that. But as far as that radio goes, it's been put away. Hate to say that, but
we had to make a decision looking towards the future.
Yeah.
And so we're actually big 220 proponents still.
Yeah, we still have the 220 mobile and the 220 repeater, which we're heavily behind, as you guys know.
So will we come out with a new 220 radio in the future? Yes, hopefully sometime this year. But it was we got tired of moving them around in the shop. They just weren't selling, guys.
Okay, Scott Owens writes, will your radios work for a fire department? Yes, these AnyTones will work for that, okay?
On analog or DMR?
Yes. So they are a good solution for, public safety. They are Part 90 radios, so they meet the requirements thereof. So that opens that whole landscape to commercial operation. So, as you consider this, it's not just amateur radio. These radios are, used in all sorts of applications.
Let's go with Dave Hornbacker.
Okay. Yeah, David Hornbacker writes, why does 4000 make dynamic tag static? Can I stop it from doing that?
Dave, I'm not following what you're saying. It does not. 4000 disconnects a dynamic talk group. That's all it does. Okay. Jeff Ambrose, what kind of internet do you need for hotspots? Well, something past the dial-up. It's a voice over IP app. You do not need fiber optic, no. You can do it off a normal house home network. Joe Januska. Yes, it is. And Ron's heard me tell you this. DMR is not your daddy's ham radio, so everything you've learned about ham radio, you need to forget when you get into DMR, and I think everybody will back me up on that. You need a whole new learning curve on how to program these. These are not for the beginning. That's why we've offered the package. I program it up, and you will. It's up to you to do your legwork to figure out on a lot of these things on programming it. We can only push so far. So once you get the hang of it, it's a piece of cake. I can program up a DMR code plug in about 5 minutes now.
Yeah, it goes pretty quick. Mike Sipes writes, are there recommended frequencies setting up a hotspot? Now we're gonna talk ham radio here, okay? So with that said, yes, there are, and Chuck can speak to this because we do get this oftentimes because we do offer the dual band hotspot, so it does make a difference.
Okay, folks, here's what, for those of you that don't know, I'm kind of an assistant administrator for Brandmeister. I haven't really been that active lately, but we were approached by AMSAT, which is the amateur satellite people, because all the hotspots were showing up from 430 to 440, and it was killing the satellite activity. So in the U.S., and I've set this in motion in our pre-programmed packages, I will not program a hotspot between 430 and 440. It's in the 446 range on UHF, on a simplex channel. So try at every chance you can to avoid anything in 430 to 440. Because the weak signal folks need to share too, guys. So let's all be good neighbors, and we can all get together on this thing here. What have we got
Let me
here?
take a real quick break. I just want to remind you guys, we are doing a giveaway for all you guys attending, okay? And I'll have the guys put the link up here. But again, we're giving away an 868 to all you guys attending. The link should be there for you guys to enter that, and we'll do that here as we wrap. When we begin to wrap things up. So just keep in mind, we are doing a giveaway, and we do appreciate you guys spending your afternoon with us. We definitely want to help you. So let's see.
Are they type approved? Yes.
Yes, they are. They are FCC type approved for Part 90. They are compliant. They have an FCC grant of certification that allows for the commercial operation, which is 450 to 470.
Code plugs.
Yep. Let's see.
Yes, the code plugs are interchangeable
Yep,
between
right.
the 868. You only need to make sure that the differences in the hardware, the options, are set the way you want. But you can take an 868 code plug and load it into an 878. And it will hold all the DMR contacts. Right now we're at 250,000 capability.
Wow.
The 868 may not here shortly because we're at about 130,000 members. But I expect that the 878 will be able to with the firmware upgrade if we ever go over 200,000.
Okay. Here's a question from Dennis Malcolm. Is the 878 a good first ham radio? I think it is, but
That's a toss-up.
you know,
That's a toss-up.
yeah, it's definitely got all the bells and whistles. Certainly, you can use it for analog operation to talk on your local 2-meter or 440 repeater. If you want to get into DMR, it's certainly got all the capabilities for that. It's for the money, you can't beat it. I mean, it's a very well-built radio, heavily supported by us. Also, the market is really gravitating towards this particular radio, and of course, the factory is totally behind it as well. I think you'll be successful with it. So I would say yes, it is a good first-hand radio. It might be a little over your head, but there are resources out there for you to learn this radio. You just got to be patient. And if you have any prior experience with amateur radio, it might be a little different for you. But like with anything, we're all here to learn and help you guys out, and it's something you can spend some time with and get successful with. Okay, let's go on. Let's see.
Dwayne Wickel, yes. Load 2.34 firmware, and it'll give you your black display, just like the 878 on the 868. That's the latest and greatest for the 868.
Okay. Rick Sweeney writes, please discuss this topic. I was just doing a little deeper. He says, which one to buy now? That's a hard one. You know, a lot of us, we want the latest and greatest. I mean, you know, you've heard stories about people camping outside the Apple store waiting on the latest iPhone. I don't know, if you want the latest and greatest, go with the 878 Plus. It's going to have everything in it, and you'll be the coolest kid on the block. So, I mean, and it also depends on your budget. You know, the 878 Plus, like you see right here, it's the most expensive one we offer. The 868 is coming down in price. It's $178.99 on our website. The 878 Plus is $238.99. So it's really a toss-up in terms of your budget and how much money you want to spend. And you know, to answer that question, but if you want the latest and greatest, the 878 Plus is the way to go. But if you want to just get started, get your toe in the water, go with an 868. An 868. So let's see. Ed Medeiros, recommend any good speaker mics to use with the 868 or 878 Plus.
BCS 200.
Yeah, we actually have a nice speaker mic we offer called the BCS
Waterproof.
200. I don't know if you guys can go grab one of those or not. I can put it up here.
Yeah.
All right, since you guys are just, you know, a lot of people have shown up since we brought this up. I can't see his name there, but he said, can you confirm rumors of a new mobile DMR radio? I'm going to put this to, we know there's one in the works. We've never had it in our hands yet. We've not seen a a physical, you know, we've seen pictures on the internet like you guys have, but we've not had it. But rest assured, when it is available, we will have it. We will offer it to you guys, and we will support it. So, believe me, since you guys have made contact with us, we will let you know when that mobile is available.
And AnyTone knows everybody's waiting with bated breath for this mobile. Trust me.
Yeah, and it's frustrating. We get it, but we're at the mercy of these folks. So, but we will have them. We will support it, and we will definitely let you know. And by the way, here's the speaker mic that we talk about. It simply
uses a Kenwood K1 plug.
Yeah, uses that K1 style plug, and plugs right in there like that. And of course, you can put it on your lapel, and then have your radio on your hip as per normal.
Mike, thanks for the kudos on the support. We just try to help. Charlie Swales, yes, they're Part 90. All the AnyTones are Part 90 certified. And no, it does not automatically find a repeater on analog or digital. You need to do some programming.
Okay, Jeff Ambrose writes, what is the battery life on these radios, and do you have separate extra batteries you can purchase? Well, to the extra batteries, yes, we do. You can purchase extra batteries when you're checking out, or purchase them separately. But to answer the battery life question, I mean, that's very difficult to answer, because you've got all kinds of duty ratings, and how often do you use your radio, and what power level you're transmitting at. I do know this: if this radio was to just simply sit there and stand by, it lasts a day or so. If you're active on it, just sort of like on your cell phone, you might have to charge it up every evening. But again, that's a very difficult question to answer. But it's got a 3,100 milliamp hour battery that comes as part of the package. So the life of it just depends on how often you use it. If you're using it a lot, it's going to go down faster. If you're just wanting to monitor traffic, it could last all day. But they do wear out over time. But the life of these batteries is pretty long as far as their their activity, but they do wear out. You might want to consider a replacement at some point. But again, it's a function of the duty rating.
I'll hit on the next three.
Okay.
The 868 with the blank white square on my screen, PW can. If it's a total screen that's white, then something died in it. It's probably going to need an RMA. So contact who you bought it from.
Probably needs the icon update.
No.
Or no,
If it's just where the GPS is, then yes, it's an icon update. If it's the entire screen, then no, the radio's got a problem.
And if you've upgraded your 868 to 2.34, you definitely need to upgrade the icon file that goes along with that, and that's probably why you're seeing that little white square. We've seen that come across, and there's an icon update file that goes along with the 2.34 update.
A lot of the firmware updates are in a zip file. Folks, look through the whole zip file. Don't just load the firmware into it. If there's an icon update, then you're going to find that I'll be getting calls, hey, how come my GPS indicator's not on? Well, did you do the icon update? Didn't know I was supposed to. There's a separate update mode to put it in icon update. Read the document. They're starting to put very good documentation in the zip files, so look through the documentation. They're PDF files. 432.4, John Erickson. Anything out of the 430 to 440 range would be good, John. Do not do it on a repeater input in your area, though, please. Try to stick to 446 in that range. There's a lot of frequencies on simplex to use. What is the difference between private and group calls? Private call is unit to unit. Group call is like an old party line, like an analog repeater. You throw out your call, everybody hears you.
Okay, Ron Car, I'm going to tie two questions together. Ron Carger writes, what is the Bluetooth PTT button? Is it a wristband or how is it worn? Well, here's what it is, okay? It's a little button like that, and this actually attaches to the 878 Plus through the Bluetooth protocol, okay? As you can see, it's got some Velcro, and it's sort of like a wrist strap. It's really not big enough to put around your wrist, okay? It probably is meant to be worn around, you know, like maybe your index finger or something like that. But it's
A steering wheel.
or your steering wheel for that matter. Okay, so it's not a wrist strap device, and it could possibly be made to put on your two index fingers and press, or a steering wheel,
Or a belt loop.
or a belt loop. Yeah. So. And then John Dolan asked, is the 878 Plus in stock yet? Yes, it is. We just got them in yesterday. We've been selling them,
Shipped 70 of them yesterday.
We shipped a lot of them yesterday. We've got a lot more. If you guys want to get one, they're available on our website. But yeah, it's the latest and greatest in this line of product. So
Jack Coney, yes, I talked it earlier. I've paired my 878 Plus with my Kenwood stereo and I call it the Exploder. My Explorer, and it had no problem. Ed Boog, hotspot on the desk. DV Mega, DMR, D-Star, and Fusion, Yaesu System Fusion. That version that we have right here is a dual band. With the one with the big IC on it is a single band UHF. This is 2 meters and 440.
And he also asks, can it be used in your car via your cell phone while traveling?
Yes.
It can be. It does have Wi-Fi capability, and I want to elaborate on what that means for you guys. The DV Mega, because it has a Raspberry Pi device, it only supports 2.4 gigahertz for all your Wi-Fi applications. So most of your hotspots that are when your phone is serving up a Wi-Fi signal is 2.4, but you definitely need to be mindful of that as you try to interface to this. But yes, it can be used in your car if your cell phone functions as a hotspot, pushing out 2.4 gig frequency.
Okay, Alan Carden, KN4SWF. What's the difference in the 878 firmware 110 and newer?
That's a hard question because, of course, every firmware update has something that is needed in it. 110, some of the radios that were shipped had an issue where if you rotated the channel knob, the display would change, but the talk group would not. So they came out with 111. Then 111N, which reinitialized the startup initialization, which was turned off. It automatically put it back on. And then now we're looking at 112, which actually fixed. They, for some reason, had taken out the wideband. They'd taken out the wideband option on the keypad entry in the handband. I found out about a week ago on a Friday before I went on vacation, and Dwayne called me on Saturday and said, we've got new firmware, so 112 is on our website. It has been vetted. It is ready to go. Jack Koenig talked about that. 2 different radios on a single hotspot. Not a problem. As long as they're all talking to the same frequency and color code. Promiscuous mode. AnyTone calls it right, guys. Digital monitor. Promiscuous was in the Titeras. This is digital monitor, and all the AnyTones give you either a single time slot or double time slot. Double time slot is a repeater sysop's dream. I know, I'm a sysop. I can hear everything that goes on through my repeater. Okay, whether I've got it programmed in or not.
I got a question. There's a Michael Smith. Michael Smith writes, is there a battery eliminator for the 868 or the 878? And there it is, guys. Okay. This does allow for you to, if your battery happens to go dead while you're driving down the road, you just pop this in place of your battery and put it into the.
And we do carry those.
We carry this as an accessory.
Right.
You know, Chuck, I want to touch on something. If you know, some of these guys that are on this feed right now are new to DMR. Can you just briefly explain, you know, what goes on in a DMR repeater? You mentioned a lot about time slots and stuff, and you know, just for clarity, what does all this mean? What is a time slot? How does it work with a repeater?
Well, DMR repeaters, number one, the minute the signal comes out of your radio, it's digital, but it's pulse digital. It has what they call the ETSI standard, 102.3, I think it is. It's tier 2, and a DMR repeater is ideal for volunteer work because you can have 2 simultaneous conversations on the same piece of RF hardware at the same time due to the dual time slots. Now, on an analog repeater, when somebody squeezes the radio, he's got the channel. On a DMR repeater, since you're 30 millisecond chops on both time slots. Say like I'm on time slot 1 on the Parrot or Worldwide, and Ron's on time slot 2 on Missouri Statewide. Both of us can be using the same repeater and not even hear each other or interfere with each other due to the alternating of our user radios. The repeaters themselves hear on both time slots the minute they come up. So they're listening on both, and the coding tells which goes where and also out to the network. So there's the K4, do a search on K4 USD guide for DMR. John has written probably the most definitive guide, the easiest guide on explaining DMR in the amateur world. So, and find that on his page because it's constantly changing. Anthony, sorry, but we're not going to open a discussion on the OpenSpot 2 because we don't carry it. Let's see here. Microsoft Excel, no, you do not. That's the Connect System stuff uses Microsoft Excel. AnyTone does not. GPS need to be enabled for APRS, or can a fixed location be programmed? Yes, Paul, down in Florida, who used to live in Kansas. Thanks for saying hi sometimes. You can put a fixed location, so yes, you can do that. Mac OS, no. All Windows, guys, no Mac.
Let's go to a question we had come in advance. Linda Hart writes, yes, is there a common path to follow to program a DMR contact? What I want to do, and Chuck brought this up earlier, was that, you know, this other, what was his name on the DMR?
John?
Yeah, John, as far as a resource. But I want to point you to our website. We've got some a couple of good videos that have gotten a lot of traffic on how to create a DMR code plug. I highly advise you guys watch that video where Chuck actually walks you through the entire process in the context of an 868, which would spill over to the 878 or the 878
Or any DMR radio.
And he addresses a lot of the fundamentals. So you can actually see the creation of a DMR code plug, as it's called, from scratch. So
On both analog and digital.
And so, in the context of this, how to program a DMR contact, that's what you're going to learn. Now, to make a DMR contact, it's just I did a demo of me making a contact to somebody using DMR, through the hotspot. So oftentimes, you hear the word, making a contact. Well, in the HF world, that's making a contact from somebody who knows where, and getting them to respond. So a contact in the DMR world, I suspect in this case, is putting all this stuff into the code plug and then writing it to your radio.
Aside from power, David, the best thing is a repeater is up on a big tall building with a lot more power than your duplex hotspot. Your duplex hotspot's probably at most 100 milliwatts, which we do not carry duplex hotspots, so that's as much as I'll probably get into that. Folks, it's not that I don't want to talk about it, it's just that I haven't played with it enough to actually, I don't want to steer you wrong. So items like the OpenSpot 2, the duplex hotspots, I just don't want to steer you guys down the wrong road. So it's going to be a very gray area whether I answer those or not. No Linux, no Mac. Now, I've heard people have tried it under Wine, Eric, but not Linux Core. So AnyTone just speaks Windows, guys. I'm sorry. That's all there is to it. I have heard that people on Macs have used Parallels, but we have not verified that. So we cannot warrant any work on that or using Wine under Linux. Stephen Orr, APRS videos and only for push to talk. Auto beacon to work. I cannot address that. You might drop a email or join the AnyTone Facebook Dwayne Reese's group on Facebook and ask Dwayne. I haven't played enough with the APRS to answer that adequately. I do know that it does work on PTT through Motorola repeaters and MMDVM repeaters because I have the capability to test through both, and it does work fine there, no problem. So. Yes, you have to log into the dashboard to change any Wi-Fi assignments on the cell phone, on your hotspot, to connect to a new. It will not automatically connect because it does not know your password. So you need to go in and set the credentials up. That's one thing we're running into. That's why we want. I think we probably ought to be a good idea now to address. Folks, we had to stop putting Wi-Fi as an option on our hotspots.
Oh yeah, let me speak to that. We offer, just so you guys know, we offer what we call a plug-and-play package, where we actually, you get the DV Mega and the 878 as a complete package. And we alluded to earlier in the live stream that the DV Mega supports Wi-Fi, okay? And it also has this connector here for physically connecting to your router. What we discovered as we began to make these for a lot of people, as they supplied us their Wi-Fi credentials, and you guys may know this because oftentimes these network names or what's called an SSID, it can be complicated, and then you also have to go find that. And then also there's a password associated with that, and sometimes it's just supplied by whoever installed your Wi-Fi at your house, and it's some gobbledygook nobody can understand. So we end up getting all this, and it's extremely ripe for error. And so what's happened oftentimes is we've sent these out, and then they don't connect to the home Wi-Fi because there's a capital
or cellular Wi-Fi.
Yeah, or because either there's a capital letter that wasn't capitalized,
or
something
space was missed.
So, with that said, what we're now doing is we're setting them up just like always, but we're not putting the Wi-Fi in there with the expectation that it's going to do, with Wi-Fi. It will do Wi-Fi, and we have videos that we've supplied to allow for you to set that up on Wi-Fi. But out of the door from our shop, they will not have Wi-Fi enabled on them. Now, we're handling the orders we've gotten thus far, so in the event you've got one going, but at the point, last week we did have to cut that off because it was a lot of issues, and I'm sure you guys can understand. It's just a lot of unnecessary frustration, and the whole entire goal of this product for you guys was to have success straight out the gate. We didn't want no problems, so now you're just burdened with having to plug it into the Wi-Fi of at your location, and then setting it up accordingly. And then we do supply you with the resources to learn how to do that as well.
Let me answer a few.
Okay.
If Glenn Kroll, this is a rumor that I have not substantiated about the GPS and APRS are a risk when using CPS. That's from an armchair quarterback. Nobody's been able to substantiate that. I have GPS and APRS turned on some of the radios I program, and I haven't had any issue. And trust me, I programmed a lot of radios through here. So I'm not going to address whether it's an issue or not, because frankly, I think it's just a rumor. Can the 878 be connected simultaneously to a push-to-talk button and earpiece? Yes. The 878 Plus, and the only 878 Plus, can be connected to this push-to-talk button and an earpiece I've connected to a Plantronics, or I've connected to my car Wi-Fi. So it does have the capability. Can I use the 878 code plugs? Yes. 868 or 878 code plugs, they'll all load into all the radios, guys. There's no cut and paste. Just open it up into CPS. So you open up your 878 Plus GPS, 878 Plus radio, or software, which we're at 112. Open up, load in your 868 code plug, check some of the options to make sure everything looks good, and dump it in your radio and walk down the road and start playing. Will a code plug for the 2017 work in the AnyTone? Yes, using N0GSG Contact Manager. It will work. That's a feature that Tom put in that software upon my request about 4 years ago. Tom's software will take a 2017 or 380 or a 9600 and load it into the AnyTones without any issue. The Bluetooth works great. Yes, it does connect to my vehicle.
Okay. Yeah, real quick, just reminding you guys, we're doing a giveaway. So the link's in the live feed and also in the description of the live feed. So just want to make sure you guys get entered, because we're probably going to do that here in about 10 minutes or so. So
Yeah,
I want to make
about
sure
10 minutes left.
Yeah, I want to make sure you guys get entered in that, because definitely want to thank you guys so much for spending your time with us. Okay. Lloyd Mitchell, hey, how you doing? Is the receiver and transmitter in the 868 the same as the 878? You know, we've not been into I've not been into the side of these things to know, you know, if you're speaking of the functionality as far as the electronics, I really don't know. I do know that they both have different grants of certification, which implies that there's different circuitry. The transmitter's possibly different because it has a different grant. That's the only thing I can think of to answer your question. So I do know that they do seem to have different firmware. Well, I know they have different firmware, and they do operate differently. They have different features and stuff like that. So that's that, Lloyd. Thank you for your question.
Dave Kahn wants to discuss how to program a button to turn off one of the channels using dual channel receive. Dave, I'm assuming you're talking about the sub channel. And because the dual channel receive, the AnyTone is not dual watch, folks. It's not going to bark out data off of both main and sub channel. One's going to be active. When it goes quiet, the other one's going to go active if there's any activity. So it's not a dual watch radio. A lot of people are mistaking on that. We found out the hard way. I programmed the top button to turn off, that's a sub channel turn off. And it's real easy to do in the CPS or from the front panel. James Vander Motten, activity LED tells you that your receiver's hearing something. It could be local garbage. It could be anything. It could be noise. It could be a motor down the street causing your receiver to see something. That just tells you that your receiver's hearing something.
I'll talk to Luis. Luis Pascarella writes, "Hello. So I'm new to the ham radio world. That's great, man. We're glad to see you getting your license." He writes, and was talking to a few people, and they say DMR is the way to go. Is there anything that you can tell me as I'm getting started? Well, there's all sorts of ways and paths to go down with amateur radio. DMR is certainly one of them. A lot of guys go down the HF path. A lot of guys go down the local repeater path with analog. So DMR is certainly a path. I mean, that's clearly what we're about here right now. We think it's a lot of fun. I like the fact that it's digital. I've been doing DMR stuff since 2009 when Motorola introduced the Moto Turbo product line. So that's when I got acquainted with it, and it's actually gaining a lot of popularity because it's just, you know, ham radio is supposed to be fun. I mean, it encompasses all kinds of things. So if you want to, you know, when somebody says it's the way to go, I mean, that's their opinion, and I think it's a good opinion. You'll certainly have a lot of fun with it for a while, and we're here to help you do that. So I I would say, yeah, and there's all sorts of resources. We, of course, provide a lot of them. A good website that's just, that we know them because they're here in Missouri, is DMRfordummies.com.
That is an actual website.
That is a
folks.
website that you can go to, and it has a lot of resources on there where he explains, you know, a lot of the backbone stuff that goes on behind the scenes with DMR in terms of how these radio work, you know, with the dual time slot, the fact that you can have two conversations going on simultaneously on a repeater. And, you know, really DMR was created to address that problem. In the commercial, I mean, it came out of the commercial area of the spectrum between 450 and 470 for the most part in the United States. And what it was trying to do was handle the narrowband mandate. Large cities were getting congested with RF, so they needed to take the 25 kilohertz channels and split those into two channels, 12.5 kilohertz. So DMR came up with was a way to come up with splitting a 12.5 kilohertz channel so that you could have two conversations going on there, and thus increase the spectral efficiency of all that spectrum that was basically really congested. So it was it was a market's answer to solving a problem of frequency congestion. So DMR does that. There's certainly other technologies. Somebody brought up a question about NXDN, which is another way of going about it. But DMR handles spectral efficiency problems when you have a congested RF space, particularly between 450 and 470 in the commercial spectrum. So it's now heavily into amateur radio. The cool thing is there's a lot of things going on with linking these repeaters. So you can link them, you can have these hotspots, you can talk all over the world, and it really opens up a lot of fun for you. A lot of guys do HF where they talk all over the world. Well, you can do the same thing with DMR. These guys, if you go on the Brandmeister website, and you can see how many hotspots are connected, how many repeaters are connected, talk groups are connected. I mean, so it's a big world out there.
Before we get out of here, I want to address Dave's.
Okay.
Dave Wickard, AE7TD, asked a very widely questioned or fielded question.
Yeah.
What is roaming? Well, is it useful? Yes, it is, but there's a key thing you have to have for roaming that a lot of people don't have. California has it, the Northeast has it, Kansas City, we have it. You need multiple repeaters. You need to be able to, roaming bounces you from one repeater to the next automatically depending on signal strength. If you've only got one repeater, what are you going to roam to? You're not. If you're on a hotspot, what are you going to roam to? You're not. You need multiple repeaters for roaming. Roaming comes from the commercial world again. What happens is if I'm talking on a repeater as I'm driving down the road, let's use I-15 and I-5 as an example in California. I'm leaving from San Diego heading up towards San Francisco. I start on I-15, I use the repeaters, I hop from Otay to Woodson to Santiago to get me through to LA. Roaming will automatically take me, the radio will automatically switch from those repeaters depending on how strong they are into my radio. Okay? They will continue the conversation all the way up the California coast. Kansas City, we've got it rounded. We've got a ring around Kansas City and like going out in spokes on down I-49, up I-29 towards Iowa, and on down into Arkansas, where you can actually do some roaming there, especially down around Springfield, Kansas City. So you need multiple repeaters to roam, and that's when you would use it if you were traveling. If you're in one horse town where you've got one repeater, roaming's not going to do anything for you. John's website, run a search on Kilo 4 Uniform Sierra Delta, K4USD guide. That is probably one of the best ones, plus also our resources at BridgeCom University, and DMRfordummies.com is a good way to get started, guys.
Yeah, and also with respect to the resources for the radio, Trygve Savard, who is he's kind of on he's the
AnyTone US
he's
rep.
behind the curtain, if you will. But yeah, he has created a nice guide that's available on our website, which is it in a way replaces the owner's manual that comes with this radio. I highly advise you guys grab that document and start sifting through that if you're just getting into this radio. He definitely goes over, you know, the radio top to bottom. We certainly reference that oftentimes when we're looking at stuff, but he's definitely spent a great deal of time in the AnyTone world and create an exhaustive guide that he's expanding as things change and helping you guys out. But let me remind you quickly, we're doing a giveaway, so I want to make sure you guys are entered. We're going to probably wrap this up here in a couple minutes, so definitely get entered into this giveaway because we're going to draw a lucky winner of all those that had attended.
Mike Sipes,
Yep.
yes, the last two numbers on the programming software and the firmware have to match or things don't play right. Dynamic talk groups, David, no, it has to be on statics.
Just real quick, if you guys notice that we're looking maybe above the camera, we've got a screen behind us that we're actually watching your questions come in because we definitely don't want to, we don't want to miss anything. So we're peering up at your questions as we ask them.
Jim, depends on what you design as the Midwest. Here in the Midwest, for us, we're blanketed in DMR. Look at byrg.net, backyardrepeatergroup.net. It's a web page of the group that I maintain. And that's the map in there is about 2 years old. It's expanded drastically. We're also in Wichita. The guys in the Kansas DMR group have expanded out through Kansas. We're in Columbia. We've had all kinds of tons of activity show up in St. Louis. So depends on where you are in the Midwest.
Yeah, we can say based on sales of this radio, DMR is going out everywhere. Indiana's covered up in DMR.
Right.
I mean, it's Illinois.
North and South Carolina, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey,
It's
California.
I mean, one way to assess the growth of this technology in the amateur radio community is simply to go to radioid.net, and you can actually see how many IDs are being served up every day. You can see how many IDs are being served up every week or in the last 30 days. I think when Chuck first got into this, how many years ago?
4 years ago, when I signed up, there were 18,000 people worldwide
Yeah.
in DMR on the ID list. Now we're at 130,000 folks. 4 years. Okay,
So where are we at now?
130,000.
Yeah, okay, so it's grown tremendously, and it's...
David, no, we're not going to be able to address single frequency repeaters because we haven't played with them and I don't have enough knowledge on them, so I'm not going to be able to address that.
Okay, Spiros, and I'm not even going to attempt your last name, he asked, antennas...
Hello from Greece.
Yeah, hey, antennas are first and last thing. How important are they for DMR and on HTs?
Antennas are always the backbone. If you got a crappy antenna, you're not going to be able to work that well. Our Nagoyas, we sell them for a reason. We vetted them. We verified that they do improve
Yeah.
over the factory antenna.
I'm going to show you guys that real quick. Let's see. We offer this NA701. Now these are the real deal. So we've taken
Those aren't clones. These aren't rip-offs.
Yeah, and they are heavily ripped off, by the way. But these are the real deals. We get them. We don't offer fakes. So we offer this NA701. I mean, it's oftentimes difficult to discern whether or not an antenna makes a difference. I mean, it is discernible, especially with this particular antenna. The antenna that's coming with the 878 is pretty good. The 868, you'll notice it's real stiff. Okay, we often encourage people to get a 701 because it's more comfortable and poke you in the side.
Plus the 868, the stock antenna, had tendency to work its way off.
Yeah, and we noticed that oftentimes it'll come unloose, but once this antenna is mounted on there, it stays pretty firm. So when you get an 868, we throw this in with it, okay, as part of sweeten the deal for you. And
We're running over
yeah.
time, so.
Anyway, but yeah, look, guys, it's been awesome being with you. We're going to wrap this up. I just get entered as quick as you can because I'm going to have Daniel over there do the drawing, and I'm going to announce who's going to win this 86. Not this one. We'll give you a brand new one, but
No, we're going to give you this one. No, we'll give you a brand new one,
yeah,
folks.
But look, and let me make a comment. We're planning on doing this once a week, and we're gonna focus on the AnyTones for a while, because I know that as more and more you guys get into this, there's gonna be more and more questions. But we definitely want you to be successful with this radio, and certainly we're gonna get better at doing these live streams as well. So we definitely appreciate your patience as we've been doing this. We want to give back to you guys. It's been a pleasure, and to remind you, we're just a retailer of this radio. We are not the factory. We are just a retailer, but we want you to consider us first when you buy this radio, and that's why we're doing this. We want to help you succeed. So I got Daniel back there at the controls.
You pick a winner.
He's going to do a drawing. He's going to draw who the
One last question here, and then we're going to wrap it up. Can you take? I answered this earlier, Michael. With N0 GSG software contact manager, yes, you can take a radio from anything except a Motorola or Hytera and put it into an AnyTone.
Okay, back to that real quick, but while I'm waiting on him to give me the name, the antennas that that we have here it's a female connector.
What is that considered? A reverse SMA? I don't know any. I can't keep track of them all.
It's a female connector on the antenna. Anyway, Bob Remkus. Bob, you won.
But we need your email, Bob.
We need your email,
Got a
Bob.
comment on the thing?
Huh?
He can send it to contact us.
You need to comment, Bob. But Bob, you won. You're going to get an 868. So hopefully you got a DMR ID. Go to radio ID. Hopefully that's of course if you're in the ham radio. I mean, we didn't want to make this all about ham radio, even though it's a big portion of our marketplace. But again, these radios aren't necessarily excluded to amateur radio. They work for commercial purposes as well. So anyway,
thanks, folks. We had fun.
He's not present.
oh, he's not present.
All right, draw another one.
All right.
Well, Bob. Yeah, that was a condition of the giveaways that you had to be present on this.
Rick Hunt.
Okay, it just came. Rick Hunt, you're the winner of the 868.
Rick, are you on here? Flag out a comment so we can see you. Evidently not. We must have bored. We must have bored him too.
Well, there is a delay. So.
Yeah, he's here. He got it.
Rick.
Okay, Rick. Congratulations.
We need his email.
Okay, Rick. Hey, tell you what. Get a hold of Daniel with your email, or contact us or sales@bridgecomsystems.com, and you're the lucky winner.
We'll get that out to you here shortly.
Yeah. Hey, again, guys, thanks for spending your afternoon with us. We're happy to have you, and we want to do these. We do more of these for you. So have a great day and be great. 7-3.
Save it.